Inasmuch as there seems to be some lingering confusion among many of these sacred warriors who have incarnated from the higher dimensions with the intent to help purify, uplift, and protect this fallen world of arrogant illusions, I feel that another concise re-examination of the outline of the ongoing holy war is in order. Fundamentally, our reality can be seen as a mathematical spiritual equation in which the motivations and actions of all conscious souls are variables in the equation. All who are fighting for the future of the Earth do so by observing the solution to this equation, or our ideal society, and working to reverse engineer the formula that leads to that solution. Upon the polarity of the archetypal consciousness of souls, there are two primary motivations seeking to manifest very different futures, and these are the basic premises of good and evil. Primordial and archetypal good and evil play out in many observable ways through human vessels, many of whom are unaware of what they are embodying and the repercussions of their actions, even at the highest levels of human society. While there is also a major component of neutrality in this world, I will not necessarily examine their ideal future in detail, as it is merely a mix between purity and depravity, and tends to be willing to make sacrifices to terrorists if the terrorists will temporarily leave them alone. Ultimate evil, which pursues personal power without any empathic inhibitions, is striving to reverse engineer a reality in which they can most efficiently exploit and entrap as many souls as possible, primarily utilizing illusion and deception. Their ideal reality is one in which they degrade society to such a point of predictable apathy that their slaves forever serve whatever depraved bondage they wish to impose upon them, and have no chance of ever freeing themselves or being redeemed. Much of this is accomplished through the subconscious creed that individual thought and freedom somewhat creates suffering, and that as such the easiest way to avoid suffering is to conform and obey whatever beliefs are popular. Thereafter, popular beliefs are maliciously manufactured into moral inversions, which encourage the enslaved souls to condemn and spite anyone who disagrees with their false moral imperative. The culmination of that evolutionary trajectory is the cessation of spiritual growth and empathy and perpetual imprisonment. The champions of Team Evil are the beasts of Revelations, the mother of abominations, Satan and his army of bastard children, as well as many other demons and the legions of oblivious human fools who they use as tools. The Mother of Abominations is currently acting primarily to bind mankind, particularly targeting teenagers and children, into utter obsession and confusion regarding their root chakras. By doing so, her intent is to make those souls useless and obedient, and unable to identify their soul with much other than their sexual interests. Meanwhile, Satan represents the pursuit of pure power without any moral or empathic hindrances. He acts primarily by binding celebrities, politicians, and other rich people through tempting them to pursue their own absolute selfishness at the cost of the suffering of others. Almost all fiscally rich people in this world are subjected to the direct communication and tempting whisperings of primordial evil ghosts and demons. And yet most of these people, like the average person, are far too ignorant and oblivious to recognize that they are being targeted for demonic servitude, such that the repercussions of their actions will help to manifest a world of constant slavery and decay, and beyond that will separate them personally from their own possibility of redemption by twisting their core motivation in the direction of absolute unempathic selfishness. Meanwhile, Team Righteousness is seeking to reverse engineer a final reality in which all souls receive fair compensation for their works, and in which all souls both understand and have the constant opportunity to pursue their own intellectual, spiritual, and moral growth. Obviously, this directly contradicts the desire to weaken and enslave souls. There are many angels and saints currently incarnate in the human form working to encourage this outcome, though due to the corruption and illusion of this dimension, people tend to prefer the honeyed poison of the false prophets to the purifying flames of truth. Now, there are several primary avenues by which Team Righteousness is working to reverse engineer a positive future. Obviously, the sharing of truth in regards to certain spiritual matters, such as the basic means by which souls grow or decay, is a powerful weapon. Though the truth is always on our side, it's not always accessible to mankind, as many would rather not think of certain things, and there are also many truths which would naturally cause weaker minds to damage one another and thus ought to remain veiled. Now, inasmuch as the enemies of love benefit quite dramatically from despair and apathy, one of the most important weapons of the righteous in the ongoing holy war is the creation of hope, motivation, and opportunity. Given the seemingly overwhelming bitterness and corruption of this world, it can be difficult, in particular for many young adults being thrust into a society wherein they are clearly sandwiched between profound ignorance and malicious exploitation, to feel that there is hope for themselves or the fate of the world. This is particularly exaggerated for souls who are accustomed to the profound psychic love of higher dimensional existence. Many suffer greatly in this world, and it is very important that we work constantly to connect with them and work to share not just vain hopium, but a more profound understanding of how to motivate ourselves to pursue and seize the opportunities that are available to us, as well as working to create new kinds of opportunities which bypass the exploitative mechanisms that have been imposed upon us by the endlessly and irredeemably selfish. This may sound rather obvious, but it's a profound variable in the equation to manifest a more perfect future. Now, the reality equation is essentially a democracy which is determined by what all souls consent to do with their energy. Therefore, Team Evil is constantly manufacturing consent to engage in frivolous hatred, to direct our consciousness towards mundane perversions and temptations, and to defer our sovereign will to maliciously inverted supposed experts on many given topics. Encouraging spiritual non-consent in this world is actually one of the only ways to help people protect themselves from the decay and illusion which is imposed upon them. We must non-consent to being bound by hatred towards mere fools. We must non-consent to false moral imperatives that inhibit our freedom of speech and thought. We must even sometimes non-consent to the fabricated narratives of non-consent, which are often used to generate controlled opposition. Anyways, I'm going to wrap up on that note. All of these things, though rather obvious to some, encompass much of the core foundation and outline that we should consider and work to encourage in others as we seek to bring about a more fair and just future. We don't have to shock and awe people into an immediate understanding of Christ and of God and of the enemies of God and how they have conspired for millennia to corrupt this world and separate mankind from our access to divinity, so they can enslave us and torture all who come to uplift and purify their slave world. We can operate through the veil of illusion to encourage positive action in the pursuit of a generative and virtuous spiritual demeanor and path, regardless of the understanding of more complex topics. That said, go thee now forth, and generate words and memes that encompass the pain and injustice you have endured in this world, and teach how to overcome such things, as well as showing what your visions are for the future. Direct yourself towards our younger brothers and sisters who are enduring the profane decay of this arrogant world of selfish illusions, such that your guidance might protect them from deception and disillusionment. Learn as you teach, and teach as you learn. And as always, blessings and curses to those who deserve them. Amen.